Welcome to Weather and Climate Chat. Weather and Climate Chat are occasional weather and climate podcast hosted by myself, Monsoon Mike, and our resident KU scientist, meteorologist, expert, climate. I'm trying to give you all kinds of names and titles. Dr. Davis, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me back this semester.
Yeah, welcome to a new semester. It's going to be an interesting semester for sure. I think a lot of us don't know exactly where it's going to go and how things work out with the reopening, but we'll definitely hope for the best and hope everyone stays healthy and happy and that everybody has a good semester.
Indeed, I sure hope so.
All right, so let's get right into the weather. There is so much to talk about since it's been a while that we have since we have convened. Only one time since May, and then here we are almost into meteorological fall, which by the way begins on Tuesday.
That's right.
So happy meteorological fall to everybody coming up. Definitely looking forward to some of that cooler weather, and some of that cooler weather is actually going to visit our area Sunday and Monday. I'm definitely looking forward to that.
We'll get a break from all the upper 80s, low 90s.
Yep. We'll talk about that in a minute, but first we got to go talk a little bit in reverse and talk about what just happened. And it's kind of obvious what the topic that we're going to talk about today is Hurricane Laura. Hurricane Laura struck a part of rural southwestern Louisiana that very rarely has been hit by any hurricanes. Just so happened by the luck of the draw that area never really had a direct hit, but this time their luck unfortunately ran out, and some little parishes and towns in that area devastated, and even bigger small cities like Lake Charles pretty badly battered.
You have to go all the way back to 1856 to the last island storm to get winds comparable to Laura.
Yeah, and even some, I saw some pictures of some skyscrapers in Lake Charles and some casinos with this. So we're not talking about like poorly built buildings here. These are fairly modern structures with all of their windows blown out and pretty much devastated.
The National Weather Service evacuated their office in Lake Charles.
Mm-hmm. No, and if any building is going to be securely built, it's a National Weather Service office, and even those folks were smart enough to realize
when the National Weather Service meteorologists are leaving, that should be a hint and a half there.
Right. Now, fortunately, I haven't heard too many reports of deaths. I know there have been. I think the last I heard was about 6 or 7, somewhere around there. But there's still a lot of recovery going on. Some areas that they still haven't gotten to. So we're definitely probably going to see that number go up. Just because this storm did not hit a hugely populated area like Katrina did does not mean that this was a storm that should have been taken lightly. This was a very serious storm. It was a Cat 4, almost a Cat 5 by just a couple miles an hour.
Which was stronger than Katrina at landfall.
Yeah, people don't realize that Katrina really was only, I think, a Cat 2 or 3 at landfall, right?
3.
So Cat 3 at landfall, but it was the massive flooding and the fact that it hit, a city that's literally below sea level that made it so bad. But this was a much stronger storm than Katrina.
Indeed it was. I think that's somewhat getting lost in the conversation, is that this storm was stronger than Katrina.
Right. Now, one of my former students, who I still speak to rather regularly, has maintained a conversation with him online. He lives in Memphis right now with his girlfriend, and he said it was rocking in Memphis last night. They got the remnants of Laura, which went to their west, and their storm windows blew out of their apartment. They lost internet and cable service for a while. A lot of trees down and that kind of stuff. Of course, they didn't get anything like Louisiana and Texas had, but a lot of people don't realize that the effects of a storm like this go a long way up into the heartland of the U.S., and that's a good example right there of my friend.
And we'll be experiencing the remnants of Laura this weekend.
Yes, we will. And actually, by the time she gets to us, we're not looking at anything half as severe as down there. share
some rain, some wind.
Yeah, we'll get some rain and some wind. I think you can see the thing there. I mean, he's my friend in Memphis is like right about there. So you saw how he was getting hammered this morning. He said it was rough between 2 and 5. She becomes more diffuse this afternoon, and basically just turns into a glorified rainstorm by the time she gets to us. But tomorrow, looking like a rainy day here in Pennsylvania. I'm not seeing isobars being too tight, so not even really too windy around here. Breezy, not windy though.
I was doing my map discussion with my students this morning, actually.
Mm-hmm.
The GFS model that we're looking at right now looked like it pretty much, there was a low pressure in Ontario that absorbed most of that energy from Laura.
Yep.
But the NAM model looked like it kind of kept its identity, but went a little further south of the area, like more toward Maryland, Delaware.
I'm looking at the 12 kilometer NAM right now, and yeah, it's more, the NAM has more of a concentrated rain to the south, although we still do get some showers and some gusty weather tomorrow. 3 kilometer NAM looks mainly concentrated to our south, but we should still get in some action. We should get some much needed rain, and I say much needed rain because here in eastern Pennsylvania, of course, where some people might be like, what are you talking about, Monsoon Mike and Dr. David? Much needed rain. We had 12 inches earlier this month. We don't need any more rain, but people got to realize that 12 inches only happened from like Reading on east, everywhere from like Reading on west, Harrisburg, State College, Pittsburgh, been very dry. I don't know if the D word has been used much out there yet, drought, but it's definitely, at least if not a drought, kind of bordering a drought out there. Is that correct, Dr. Davis?
Well, in the eastern part of Pennsylvania, we are pretty much on par for precipitation. We might be slightly below at this point. Western PA, I do not know off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, I keep seeing the National Weather Service saying much needed rain, especially the State College National Weather Service office, because they're a little closer.
They are getting some storms today out in the western part of the state, as same with the central. Yeah. We might get something this afternoon, generally around 3, 4, 5 o'clock hour.
Yeah,
then things clear out fairly quickly, and we should be okay by 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock.
Yeah, we should mention that we're recording this on August 28th, Friday at 11 o'clock. So if you're listening to this after that, this won't mean much to you. But if you're listening to this before that, the high resolution model has some showers and storms. Some of them could be strong, if this is correct, somewhere around 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
Yeah. So we'll see if they hold together. They do look like they're moving rather quickly, so they won't cause a whole bunch of damage and flooding, hopefully. But if they do happen, they could be temporarily strong. And then it clears out this evening. And then, like we said, tomorrow we get that rain moving through. And then this is what I'm looking forward to, Dr. Davis, as a big lover of cooler weather. Some really nice weather coming in on Sunday with some weak high pressure trying to come in. Temperatures Sunday afternoon, low to mid 70s. That's gorgeous. Love it.
Well, that's from the strong low pressure that's over Ontario and the really pronounced cold front that's associated with it.
Yeah. So definitely the Sunday is the better of your 2 weekend days. So if you're listening,
by far.
Yep. If you're listening,
Saturday's not looking that great.
Yeah. If you're listening to the two mics here to figure out what day is your better weekend day, definitely Sunday is your better weekend day. Monday is looking nice as well too, although there could be some precipitation that tries to encroach a little bit from the south. And then I don't know, generally kind of a benign pattern next week. It looks like it does warm up again. And become more humid, like by about Wednesday or so, with temperatures getting back into the mid 80s perhaps. But then it looks like a cold front starts to move in later next week. And that's implying a cold front coming through like around early Friday. And then we're back to some cooler, nicer weather again for to end next week into next weekend. So kind of a normalish type pattern, I guess you could say, as we get into meteorological fall. Maybe a little bit below normal to start the week, a little bit above normal to end the week, but nothing too extreme either way, which is good news, I guess you could say.
I haven't had a chance to look at the Climate Prediction Center yet. What are they saying?
Oh, we're going to do that right now. The 6 to 10 day outlook has us above normal, at least a 50% chance of above normal temperatures from September 2nd to 6th, but middle part of the country from like North Dakota down to almost northern Texas, a little on the below normal side. So does that work into our area in the 8 to 14 day? Not quite. It starts to move a little bit closer to our area, but still leaning toward above normal temperatures, at least until about September 10th. Maybe if we were to go further out, we would say that after September 10th, maybe a little cooler weather again. But I mean, again, and this is kind of the pattern that we've grown used to in recent years. I mean, generally, early September has been kind of warm.
I'm going to check right now myself.
Sure.
Yeah. Next month for September, not as warm as what we've seen recently.
Okay, yeah. Hold on, I didn't do something right here.
The autumn still looks warm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So 1 month outlook, a little on the warmer side. 3 month outlook still warm. But yeah, so autumn does definitely look on the warmer side. Again, we've grown used to that. I've grown used to that.
And then if you look at the drought information, you will find that Western PA does have some drought going on.
There you go. Okay, so I was right with that. It looks like, okay, if we look at this little chart down here, intensity.
Abnormally to moderate.
Yeah, moderate drought. So State College, there you go. That's why the State College office keeps talking about it, but the Mount Holly office doesn't really talk about it that much because their area is normal, but the State College office is under a moderate drought. So, yeah, they didn't get that 12 inches of rain that we had earlier this month. So that's why they're looking forward to that rain tomorrow, Dr. Davis.
Between Isaias and the strong storm that we had several weeks ago that got a record in Reading for heaviest rainfall in 24-hour period, I believe.
Yep.
Or actually, I think it fell mostly in a 3 or 4 hour period.
Yeah, well, it was two storms in a row. If you remember, we had the one which was unrelated to Isaias. I think that was like that Sunday.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That's where Reading had like 6 inches in like 4 hours, and then the one that Isaias came through like 2 days later with another 4 inches. So, yeah, so about 10 or so inches in a couple.
We pretty much doubled our annual rainfall in a 3-4 day period.
Absolutely. Now, some people might be asking Dr. Davis and Monsoon Mike, what's the tropics? Are we going to get any? Is it quiet now? I mean, we should also mention, we don't want to forget that prior to Laura was Marco. Marco kind of had the stage stolen from him by Laura. He didn't really do much damage, caused some heavy rains in parts of southern Louisiana. But that was just a couple of days before Laura. And so two tropical systems hitting the same general area in a couple of days.
There was some concern that there could have been 2 hurricanes in the Gulf at the same time.
Right, and some people were even saying the two could merge and become a superstorm, and you quickly put that to rest on your blog or on your Facebook page.
Yes.
Did you want to talk just briefly? Did you want to talk briefly about that, Dr. Davis?
Fluid dynamics does not state that would happen. If you have one vortex and another vortex, they don't just merge, they just kind of dance around each other or just weaken each other out. And that's something known as the Fujiwara effect that's been around, or at least discussed, since the 1920s. So it's not anything new. Hollywood's done things like that, but it just doesn't work in the scientific community. Now, you can have energy being exchanged between the two, but they don't just simply merge into one.
Right. And that was good that you put that rumor to rest, because of course the media jumps on things and then social media takes off, and then it's like, you know, 2 storms going to become 1, going to be a Category 7 superstorm and all this. I mean, again, the science just doesn't back that kind of.
No, it does not.
Does not. So thank you for putting that to rest, Dr. Davis. I shared that on my page. If you want to go back and look at Monsoon Mike's weather or Dr. Davis weather forecasts on Facebook, scroll back a couple of days, you can see the full explanation right there. He did a good job with that.
We have a couple waves out in the Atlantic.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. People are asking, is it quiet now? Well, it's quieter than it was, but there are a couple of areas of concern, I guess you could say. Disturbance 1, as they call it, way out there in the Atlantic, 20% chance of cyclone formation. A tropical wave 900 miles east of the Windward Islands is producing an area of showers and storms. Some gradual development of the system is possible during the next several days while it moves west at about 15 miles an hour toward the eastern Caribbean islands. Formation chance through the next 48 hours is low, and through the next 5 days is low. So something to watch, nothing too imminent. A tropical disturbance number 2, 0% chance of cyclone formation in the next 48 hours. Another tropical wave located over the eastern Atlantic. Northern part of this wave, which should rapidly move westward over the central Atlantic during the next few days, is not forecast to develop. However, the southern part of the wave is expected to be nearly stationary near the Cabo Verde. Is that how you pronounce that?
Yes.
Cabo Verde Islands for the next several days, and some development of the system is possible as it moves slowly westward. So people got to realize that we still haven't technically even hit the peak of hurricane season yet. The peak of hurricane season was what, September 10th? Am I correct?
Yeah, around that time. We're almost there.
Okay, we're almost there. But I mean, the fact that we're already up to letter L and we aren't even halfway through yet. So we've still got a long way to go. And
Nana would be the next one.
Nana?
Then
Okay.
Oscar.
That's right, because M is already gone as well too. So,
And it could be pointed out too, going back a few points ago, that Marco was a tropical storm. I think briefly became a hurricane, but then was a tropical storm when Laura entered the Gulf.
mm-hmm.
And then Laura rapidly intensified. And you and I were talking about that. Yeah, the situation looked fairly similar to 2005 with Katrina, kind of going along the same path. The Gulf Loop current was quite warm. You had a lot of, some meteorologists were referring to it as jet fuel in the Gulf at that time.
Right. Correct. And just looking out at the Pacific, just so our hurricanes out in the Pacific don't get jealous that we're only talking about their friends in the Atlantic. We have Tropical Depression Hernan and Tropical Storm Iselle, pretty much, as they would say in the business, fish storms, not really affecting anybody of any significance out that way. So, but of course, always something to keep their eye on. So yeah, it's been definitely a busy summer. We're getting into meteorological fall in just a few days. And I always like to just put this out there as well, too, Dr. Davis. People look at me sometimes like I got, two heads when I say, happy meteorological fall. They're like, what are you talking about, Monsoon Mike? Fall doesn't begin until September 20th, 21st, 22nd. I'm like, oh, you're one of those folks that follows the astronomical fall. I follow the meteorological fall. So just briefly tell us a little bit about what meteorological seasons are as opposed to astronomical seasons.
So astronomical seasons are the ones that you're and the general public are probably more familiar with. These are the ones that start with the sun being above the equator for the equinox, so the vernal equinox and the autumnal equinox, first day of spring, first day of fall. Then you have the solstices, the summer solstice, the winter solstice, when the sun is over the Tropic of Cancer for the summer solstice, and the Tropic of Capricorn for the winter solstice. So they're based upon heavenly bodies at that point. Meteorological seasons are based more on the seasons that act similar to one another. So those would be, for instance, meteorological summer is June, July, and August, the 3 warmest months typically in a given region. So therefore you're going to have that as your meteorological summer. And then you have December, January, February being the 3 generally coldest months being your winter. So it's mainly to keep things more organized. And if you want to do seasonal studies, those are the months that are acting consistently and with one another.
Okay. Thank you for that very good explanation. So now people understand when.
And I believe they started this in the 50s.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, yeah. It's definitely not something new.
No, it's not something new, but maybe it's been pushed more on social media. I see like some meteorologists talk about it more than it used to be, like when I was a kid or when you were a kid. But so maybe it's a little more common knowledge now than it used to be, but it's definitely not a new concept. It's been around for about a half a century, maybe more. So cool. Well, we've talked quite a bit. We didn't really discuss a topic per se, but we kind of discussed several topics amidst the daily.
There's a lot of weather to catch up on.
So let's try to keep, this recording, we've tried to do weekly in the past, but that never seems to work for us. But at least a couple of times a month, we'll try to aim for this semester and see where it goes for. And I wish you a good semester, Dr. Davis. You just want to briefly talk about how your semester's lining up. What classes are you teaching this year?
I have a first-year seminar that's going pretty good so far, and meteorology that we really didn't meet this week because I had a family emergency come up with my daughter, so I had to take care of that. But generally, the semester looks okay. We've had lab outside. Students like being outside playing with all the instrumentation. And next semester, I'm having weather analysis, which is the advanced meteorology class, which I usually send your way to have the students do the weather forecasts on KUR.
And hopefully by next semester, some of this COVID stuff has calmed down so we can kind of have somewhat of a semblance of normal. But if not, we can figure out a way to do it remotely.
We can just record them on Zoom and send them to you that way, I guess.
Well, honestly, I mean, as much of a pain as COVID is, I mean, it has made people learn technology and stuff. And now I'm doing most of my interviews, like what I'm doing with you right now, by Zoom, because why not? It saves you having to come over to the studio and say, it's just easier. So, and I don't clog up the studio from my students, and everybody's happy. So, all right, cool. Dr. Davis, I wish you a very great semester from all of us here at KUR, and stay safe out there. Hope your family's well, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good. You too.